Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Pastor Roland, and I'm checking in to see how you're doing. Hope you're doing better. As I've said so many times, a lot of you are not doing so good. You have issues. Now, it all begins, your problems all began when you were a child and you were um, emotionalized and undoubtedly teased and pressured. Okay? Teased and pressured, emotionalized, or even worse. Okay? And you became excessively emotional. And then something else entered in, and that was anger. Anger at people who were teasing you, or who were cruel to you, or confusing you, or pressuring you, or willful, see, or impatient. That's the classic mistake that parents make, impatience, because they don't have any patience, see. And until they realize that they need patience, they'll never find patience. You have to realize your need for it, and then wish you had patience. But anyway, getting back to children, it's called post-traumatic stress disorder. We all have it. We all have post-traumatic stress disorder, going all the way back to our childhood. See, there's natural stress, like going out into the sun and the wind and the rain. And there's natural stress like running through the field and things like that, jumping, and those are natural stresses. But then there's unnatural stress. Unnatural stress. Unnecessary meanness, pressure, impatience, cruelty, tease, okay? Rejection. See, unnatural stress. Now, the way to respond to the unnatural stress is with patience, with distance, with grace. Okay? Now, Christ knew how to respond to stress, and he also taught us how to respond. But you can't expect a little child to have grace and wisdom. It's not time yet for the little child. See, first the little child must grow to full stature, and then, upon reaching adulthood, then the child will be able to choose one way or the other, to incline toward what is right and fair and just and kind and honest and truthful and commonsensical, or to go the other way. The child will have that ability to incline one way or the other. But as little children, they should be protected from unnatural stress. See, protected from unnatural stress, mean babysitters, from confusion, from pressuring teachers and coaches, from mean people and wicked people, and from bullies, and from confusion and all manner of things. Children are to be protected from those because they're not ready to deal with them yet. That's what parents are for, to protect the children from unnatural stress. There's a beautiful translation of the Bible. It's called the Caboris manuscript, and in there it has it translates. There are only certain parts of the New Testament are available. I wish the whole thing was, but certain parts. But it does have the part where Christ goes out into the wilderness for 40 days, where he is tested by evil. And the term that's used it was translated from the Aramaic, carefully translated into English from Aramaic. And the translation is that Christ was approached by the stress of evil. The stress of evil. That's how they called the Satan or the devil or the evil that came to tempt Christ. The stress of evil. Children are to be protected from it. Well, anyway, so there was meanness, there was cruelty, there was injustice, there was tease at home, at school, everywhere. And there was very little love. And there was what passes for love, but there was very little love. So you did the best you could, but what happened was you became angry. In a nutshell, you became angry, and then you became resentful. You became angry, and then the relentless intimidation of stress, of cruelty, and tease, and pressure, and willfulness, and impatience, eventually got to you. And you became resentful. Now when you become resentful, so two things happened to you then. You became emotionalized. So you began to react. Remember I said Christ responded. He taught us how to respond. With patience. In other words, instead of reacting to the outside, we look to inner principle. We look to the inner light. We look to principle. We look within. And then if something is to be said or done, if we're to say something or do something, then it will come. The instructions will come from within, wordlessly. We'll just know. And if nothing is needed to be done, then we just observe. We observe what is wrong, what is perhaps even evil or wicked. We observe it from mental distance. And we have when you walk with God, when you're grounded when you're centered in your inner ground of good, you have a protective force field around you. Okay? It's like remember Star Trek on television? They had the force fields and they put the force fields up. Well, that's what you have. And it keeps it, and by not reacting with resentment, with upset, with anger, by not taking umbrage, by not falling for the ruse, by not getting pulled into the argument. You remained distant, aloof, and you have a force field that keeps the bad from getting in. And only good can come out. So now the stressor is faced with non-response, and perhaps even with the face of the dimension of good that comes through you. When you get your ego out of the way, when you don't respond with umbrage, with anger, with upset, with resentment, with judgment toward the other person who is stressing you. Something in them is stressing you. See, humans are conduits. We're conduits for good or conduits for evil. We don't realize it, of course. But we become conduits most people become conduits for evil. See, for wrong. Or at best they're dupes, pawns. See, going along to get along and not caring about principle, but looking for expediency and self-advantage and face-saving and making excuses and everything. All these things keep the light away. Excuses. See, what are you making an excuse for? If you did something, if you really did it yourself, if you really wanted to do it, why would you have to make an excuse? That's proof positive that you were hypnotized and you were doing it under some outside directive or some programming, perhaps from the past, hypnotic programming. What would I do that for? What would I buy that for? What would I go with that person for? Why? See? Well, if you make an excuse for it, see, but see, that's your main fault. It's not so much what you did that's bad. It's the excuse. Because the excuse denies truth. Denies truth its moment. See, the light of truth is always there. And if in the light of truth you saw that you did something dumb and you have no idea why you did it, See, why'd I do that for? And you just bear the pain of seeing that you did something dumb or wrong. Then you're seeing it in the light. But when you make the excuse, you're trying to deny the truth. See, denial. So people excuse to deny, they rationalize to deny, they cover up to deny, they drink to deny, they smoke marijuana to deny, they party to deny, they endlessly involved in trivia to deny. See? But that's what happens. See, when you remember I said you became emotionalized one, reactive to the outside, and then resentful. And then your force fields are down, and that permits the bad to get in, and it seeps in. And then lo and behold, it's in you, and then when you're an adult one day, you see yourself yelling and screaming at your kids just the way your parents did, or confusing other people, or being dishonest or sneaky, or being hateful or mean, or phony. See? Fooling people. You see yourself doing the very thing that you hated that you once hated when you saw it in other people. Now it's in you. See? The worm that dieth not. So now what you must see is that, and it is sobering, but it's not so bad because if you can see it, see, God permits you to see your error so that you can change. But the next mistake people make is they try to save themselves. See, that's the next thing. We roll up our sleeves and our ego tries to save itself, tries to make itself look good. Remember Christ warned us not to do something for appearance purposes, to impress other people, because not only is it's a thing of pride, and it's a phony, and it fools people, which is wrong. But even worse, see, even worse is that what it does is it blocks the light of truth from saving you. See, God doesn't violate our freedom. So His light is there. But if you which wants to save you, God wants to save you. But if you try to save yourself, you block the action of the light. See? So you'd be better off doing nothing instead of trying to put on a show for other people and trying to look good and rolling up your sleeves and huffing and puffing. You'd be better off if you did nothing other than just to see the truth and realize you're wrong and realize your helplessness against the wrong and realizing that, and then also see that the people who did it to you, see, you're guilty of a lot of hate. Most people are guilty of a lot of hate. It's suppressed and repressed and covered up and transferred and into other emotions and buried under a lot of guilt, and people do a lot of nice things for other people to make up for the guilt for resenting them, see. So that's our problem. Okay, a lot of resentment. But if you could just see the truth and then not try to save yourself, and see your helplessness, just see your helplessness, see that you can't change yourself. Okay, and just bear that for a while. Then that becomes a cry to God, a true need that He will answer, and then God can save you, and God will save you when you stop trying to save yourself. But you have to also be willing to admit that you're wrong. Admit that you've resented other people, and so on. And so, and what I wanted to say, I don't want to forget this point, and then I'll make an end to this video. It's very, very important. You see how these negative consequences of all of what's happened to you. So there it is. So there you are screaming at your kids. There you are being phony with other people. There you are confusing other people. There you are being angry. There you are failing other people. See? There you are struggling and huffing and trying to put on an act and a show for others to fool them into thinking you're a wonderful person. If you see that about yourself, okay, you see it, then you can also see that the same thing happened to your parents. See, you judge them harshly. You resented your dad. You resented your mom. You judged them harshly, condemned them, was angry at them, felt they were deliberately denying you love, perhaps. But now you see that they were struggling just as you are. They were just as lost as you are now. There was something in them that was compelling them to yell and scream and be phony and everything else, and they couldn't stop themselves any more than you can stop yourself. So now you can have compassion on them. Now that you've walked a mile in their moccasins. There was a cute joke. You know the expression to walk a mile in someone's moccasins. It means to now you know what they were going through because you've lived through what they have. But there was a joke. Someone said, if you walk a mile in someone's moccasins, now you've gone a mile and you have their moccasins. I got such a kick out of that joke. Okay, so now you can forgive your poor old unloved mom. And you can forgive your confused dad, your weak dad. Okay, I'm sure they did the best they can. Most parents do. They try to do the best they can. It's not good enough, but see, it can all be good. So now you see all of this. You forgive your parents. You stop trying to save yourself. You see that you couldn't help the circumstance you were born in, so you no longer hate yourself. You see that we're all in the same boat, so you have compassion on people, not feeling sorry for them, but compassion. And now there you are, you just sit there, and now maybe you're ready to meditate, to get my meditation. And sit still and come before the truth. Okay, and find the inner light from God. And your whole life could change for the better. Okay? My name is Pastor Roland.